This podcast may contain discussions of graphic violence, unsettling themes, supernatural phenomena, and other topics that some listeners may find disturbing or triggering. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are simply those of the individual hosts and do not represent the profession of psychology or constitute professional advice.
Welcome back to the Secret Passage podcast. I am your host, Dana Vespoli, alongside my co-host, Shannon
Rogers.
Yes.
Also known as Shanula, Shaniqua, Shantytown, Shan.
Shanae.
That's right.
Don't
that's right.
Yes. Well, this is part 2, kind of, continuing from last week. We originally were planning on doing an episode on Madison Holleran and Katie Meyer, as their tragedies are kind of aligned in some ways, both pro athletes, not pro, but also like star athletes, star students at Ivy League universities. But before we get going on that, let's talk about, we want to give some shout outs.
Oh, yes. Okay. Shout outs to our new paid subscribers on Patreon. So shout out to Lulia, Sergo, Joseph Garcia, Robert Pareco, Bill Schilling, and Connor and Wiley. I think we've already shouted you out, but we're shouting you out again.
Yes.
And then we also want to give a shout out to the sweet person who wrote a very nice 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts. And I can read the review. Bob. So it's Bob P416. What he said was truly thought-provoking, a well-researched and thought-provoking listen. Dana and Sharon, he got my name wrong, but that's okay. Everybody does. There's a joke in my house. Yeah, Tim calls me Sharon Roberts. Dana and Sharon are not afraid to dig deep into uncomfortable subject matter that at times can make you squirm and then just as quickly make you chuckle. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. It really does. Any secret passages you wandered down this past week, Shanae?
Yes. Okay, let me tell you. So when I wear these glasses, I always think of my little niece when she's so cute. When she was a little girl, she got those, those like Where's Waldo kind of glasses.
Yes.
She got some like glasses for Christmas. They were not prescription or anything, but she did this little video and she thought, you wouldn't hurt a guy with glasses, would you? You wouldn't hurt a guy with glasses, would you? It's so cute. Oh my God. So did you hear about the GameStop thing where the two guys cut in line, those like new Pokemon cards that were being released? Do you hear about this?
No.
Okay. So in Colma, there was a couple people were lining up because the new Pokemon cards were available, and these two guys cut in line, and this dude got really upset, and they were like kind of having words back and forth, and then all of a sudden they just broke out into a huge brawl, and the guys like broke a glass jar full of weed over the guy's head. This is so like, yeah, broke a glass jar of weed, and then one guy took the shards from the glass and started stabbing the guy. I know, over Pokemon. So Tim and I were talking about lining up, and I was like, yeah, dude, like if you cut the line, like you get a lot of rage. I'm a big liner upper. I know that's a cultural thing. I know there are cultures that don't queue up, but like in America, we queue up, I think, as like a residual kind of like British influence kind of thing, right? And like it's so ingrained in us. And like when we go to there's this brewery, Drake's dealership, the actual brewery here in San Leandro, and they don't have you line up for beer, and it breaks everyone's brains. Like everybody's standing there, like sort of lining up, and someone will just walk up and order a beer, and they'll be like, "What?" Like we just can't understand the concept of not lining up. And then so Tim and I just went down this rabbit hole of like when I was a kid, I was get mad at little kids like in class when the teachers would say something like time to line up and people wouldn't line up. And then we were talking about, well, what's like too much? Like if you're waiting in line for tickets or you're waiting in line for, lunch or something or brunch, like how many people can you save spaces for if you're saving spaces before it's like rude and could incite violence? And so I asked AI and I said, I was like, I think probably 2. And so I asked AI and it's 2. If you go over 2, then it's just like, right?
Yeah, it makes me really uncomfortable. At the twins' graduation,
Mm-hmm.
we were sitting, and there was another family that we recognized because their son is really good friends with the twins, and they were like, "Well, here, let's just save spots," because we were waiting for. It was me and Manuel, and we were waiting for. I know, dude. It's not, guys. Bruno, come on. They'll do anything for attention, I swear. Okay. But I had said, well, no. If you guys are sitting there, that's okay. We're still waiting for 4 more people. Oh, no. We'll save these spots. I was like,
yeah.
Made me so uncomfortable. It's like, what about, it just doesn't seem fair, I'm very much, it goes back to grade school for me, remembering like you line up and then no cuts. You're taking cuts. You're not supposed to cut. Don't cut the line. We would
think about how mad you get, like when we're driving or, oh God, think about this. Because this is the other thing. So you probably know this from In-N-Out, right? Or anywhere.
The insane line that snakes around the block.
But what about the assholes that get up there? You're waiting for like 45 minutes. This is a place here called Lovely's Burgers, and it's inside of this brewery in Oakland, and they're amazing burgers. But usually when you're there, there's a line, and it sometimes can take like 45 minutes, and it never fails. There's somebody who gets to the front of the line, and then they get there, and it's like they haven't even been thinking about their order, and they're like. They're like, I don't know. Should I do the regular burger patty or the Impossible Burger Patty? And you're like, like you've been waiting for 45 minutes. How have you not thought of this? So there you go. That's my secret passage.
Yeah. My secret passage is, it shouldn't be a secret. It really shouldn't. We need more research. We need more information out there. I am in the throes of perimenopause. Holy shit.
No one warns you.
No, I went into a Reddit, this kind of support group Reddit thread about perimenopause and menopause, because there are days where I don't understand what's happening. Like the dizziness. Like I'll have this dizziness, not enough dizziness that throws my balance completely off.
Yeah.
But like this kind of like, this is weird. Is this going to go away? Is this going to get worse? I was like, I can't drive today. I don't feel comfortable driving. This was yesterday. So, Jay had to do all the driving because I was just like, hot flashes,
rage,
weird itchiness. I will get itchiness in my ears where I'm like, and I found out that's a fucking symptom. I'm like, what the fuck is this itchiness? You know, why is there a bug that crawled into my ear and died? I don't understand.
And it comes on fast. It's like,
and yeah, and it's like so unexpected for people who don't like jump scares. Being in perimenopause is like being confronted by jump scares, like these weird sensations that pop up out of nowhere. And there's not enough information. There's not enough research done on it. I was asked the other day, like, well, my partner, he was like, how long does it last? I'm like, doctors don't even have a fucking answer.
It can be 25 years. It can be like 10.
It can be a year. Like some shit goes. And so
mine was a year.
That's.
Well, I was in my 30s. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I'm a demon.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a demon right now. And I had no thought in my mind that it was menopause or anything. I went to my doctor and I was like, they don't tell you about like this is probably TMI, but they don't tell you about like all the changes in your private parts and like, just weird things that people start to
Yeah.
experience. And I went in and she's like, so I told her, I was like, I'm in menopause, I think, because my regular doctor tested me and was like, yeah, you have like no estrogen. But she was like, so what's the goal here? She's like, you want to keep it open for business? I'm like, no one told me it closes for business. No one told me anything about that.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like some women, it just, yeah.
Yeah. There's a woman in the business who she was great. She about like just the way she communicated. She was like, there's so much shame in an industry that really fetishizes youth. I mean, it's not just the adult industry. It's all industries just really, really making youth the gold standard for like how women should strive to be young. But when she started going through it, she said, guys, this is fucking crazy. Like, she was having like pain in
Yeah.
her vagina. And it's like,
Yes.
for a porn star, that's tough.
Yeah.
And she kind of just said, anyone that might be starting to go, I come talk to me because I'm experiencing the worst of it. So,
Yeah.
But I remember hearing about that, and this was more than 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, is that a thing? Because I didn't even know. I thought, okay, so this thing happens and I'll just go talk to my doctor about it, and he or she will fill me in on what to do and we'll be good. And it's like, no, it's not how it works at all. Like, it's still so experimental, some of the shit,
And there's not a lot of
Anyway,
research, like you said. It's just not,
yeah.
it's an under. Yeah. I feel bad for people our moms, our parents' age, because
Yeah.
there's I think they're really seeing the effects of being estrogen deprived over the lifespan now, and they're recognizing that we just didn't used to live this long, and living without estrogen for that long, it affects all the systems in your body, and
Right.
it's so anyway. But and thank God for people like Mary Claire Haver who are taking this
Yeah.
up. And I think our generation really is kind of the generation
Yeah.
that's
Right. Acknowledging like, hey, we kind of need to have a conversation. We need to talk about this.
yes.
Just like issues of, we talked about this with the Lindsay Clancy episode, postpartum issues, and just there's a lack of resources, lack of information for a lot of new mothers who, there's no way to tell how you're going to respond after giving birth.
Yeah.
And then these women end up vilified.
Yeah.
You end up being referred to as crazy, out of control, hysterical. It's like, actually, my body is on fire internally with stuff. But anyway, thanks, gang, for listening to
our menopause woes.
Yeah, I'm like, secret passage. It shouldn't be a secret.
Exactly.
But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into our conversation on Katie Meyer. And trigger warning, again, we are talking about some pretty uncomfortable stuff: death and suicide and mental health. So anyone that is uncomfortable, that just doesn't feel up to having this conversation or listening to us, then you can move along. It's okay. I get it. But yes, last week we were going to talk about Katie Meyer along with Madison Holleran, but Katie needs her own episode. And this is a case. There's a legal case involved with this, a lawsuit that Katie Meyer's parents have against Stanford University. But before we get into that, let's talk about who Katie Meyer was and is still in a lot of ways. She is the reason why there's a law now that passed, right? Katie Meyer's law.
Yes, they passed a law that basically, if you get caught in some sort of disciplinary action at your institution, at your school, that you can have an outside advocate help you. So navigate the process. because she didn't have that. Yeah.
No. So Katie Meyer was an extraordinary athlete from Stanford University. She was a senior at Stanford University in 2022. Excuse me, Bruno. Bruno has a lot of opinions. Okay, stay right there. She was a goalkeeper and the team captain for Stanford. And she was also an extraordinary student and was applying to law school. There's footage of her saves, her as goalkeeper. She was like, there's this great documentary called, it's called Save, the Katie Meyer story, right? On ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. A tremendous athlete, powerful, just, and so much sass. I remember because I texted you, I was watching it and just like brokenhearted watching this, but like, she was such a badass.
Yeah.
There's that part where she fucking, she got someone from the opposing team got the ball in, and then the player was like overheard saying like, well, it's the goalkeeper's fault or whatever. And then Katie, they end up winning the game because of Katie, and Katie's just like going up to the camera and she's like, does the whole, shut your mouth. So sassy. But anyway, an incident happened 6 months prior. So, because it took about 6 months for this whole thing to kind of go down. 6 months prior to her death, a young player on her team had a terrible experience at a party. This young player, young meaning she was 17, so underage. Mm-hmm. But a Stanford football player had forced himself on her in like,
I think it was like a stairwell.
A stairwell, right, where no one could see, and kissed her, without her consent.
And he said, "No one can see us here," which freaked her out.
Yeah, and I can only imagine. It's very intimidating, very scary. You don't know what to do. No one's there. And she went to her team and she was very upset about it. And Katie was understandably enraged on her behalf. And so following that, Katie came across this football player and she spilled hot coffee on him. And the player was the hot coffee like scalded him. He went to the athletic trainer at the school and explained what happened, because he was, I think it was like, hey, what do I do for this? I mean, it wasn't like he lost skin or anything like that. It was painful. And then word got out to, I think that the physical trainer, word got to the dean basically. And the girl did not want to, the young player that had been kissed by the football player didn't want to escalate things. She didn't want to bring charges against him. And the football player wanted to drop the whole thing. Just didn't want to get Katie in trouble. There's no way to know his reasoning why. I think he just didn't want any attention on what had happened. But nevertheless, he didn't want things to escalate. He just wanted things to end amicably. However, the Department of Student Conduct,
I think so. Yeah, it's like...
Yes, it was. I want to get the exact name down. I'm
gonna look right here.
Okay. It essentially the kind of governing body that oversees student conduct and student behavior wanted to move forward and investigate what had happened. And so Katie maintained that it was an accident. Insisted that it was unintentional. And the department didn't believe her. I think that there were witnesses and kind of words shared contradicting what Katie was saying like, oh no, she was pissed. She did that. She had her teammates back. She was angry. So the investigation took 6 months. The department had 6 months to make a decision about whether they were going to move forward. And in the last possible minute of that 6 month investigative process, they sent an email out at 7 p.m. on that last possible day. So you can imagine Katie thinking,
that's so
this
cruel.
Is done. Yeah, this is done. I don't have to think about this anymore. It's done. She gets back to her dorm room and has received an email stating that they are moving forward with some sort of a hearing.
Yeah, they had to have they were going to have the process basically of having a hearing. Yeah,
and it was I think it was, and that the possible outcome for her would be expulsion from the school. Following that email, there was evidence that she frantically was searching all over the web for how to represent herself, what to do. She sent an email to the dean saying, "Hey, I'm terrified. What can I do?" But she got an email back saying, do any of these particular dates and times work for having, sitting down and having a meeting? She chose a date, the soonest possible date. She tried calling her ex-boyfriend, who was a law student at the time, to presumably get help with what to do, but he was not available. He didn't get the call. And then she took her life. And I think that she just had written down on a note thing, I'm scared. So that is what happened. 2022, March 1st of 2022. The thing that is so, the thing that really stands out to me is how you see these videos of her playing soccer, and she seems so fearless.
Yeah.
Probably the hardest fucking position to play is goalie.
Most pressure.
The most amount of pressure. My oldest child was a lacrosse goalie. It was hell. And obviously not at this level. I mean, she's like at this elite fucking level for soccer. And, it's that thing. It's like the ball gets in, you're hated sometimes. You catch the ball, you're just, the pressure is so insane. And she's the team captain. She's this force to be reckoned with, like in the camera, just like, she's like, what? Just so tough. And the captain, so she is rallying her players. And then she was described by her mother as being like this like mama bear, like she wants to take care of people. And her parents had instilled in her from a very early age, you have to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. You have to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. And I think that she, of course, dumped the coffee on the football player on purpose, because who's going to fucking stick up for the 17-year-old? The school's not going to fucking stick up for her. No one's fucking sticking up for this girl. So
Well,
Katie's going to fucking do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that she would, the football player would say that he doesn't want to move forward with anything, but they would anyway. And
That's
then
the part that really, yeah.
And the other part, though, that the same thing happened on the other side, where he did something weird without consent, and she said she didn't want to press charges or whatever, but they didn't. So like
Right.
they could have. It's just not fair. It doesn't seem fair that they
It doesn't.
would go after her.
So the argument I heard for them pursuing something with Katie and not the football player is that there were no witnesses with the girl and the football player. I think there were witnesses that saw Katie.
How about the girl he did it to? She's a witness. I know, but I know what you mean. It's like, it's hard to prove.
Yeah, it's hard to prove. And then also, I think for the girl, for the 17-year-old, it's just, this is where another example of sometimes victims don't move forward because it's like being assaulted all over again. You've got people trying to dig shit up about your past. You've got, we've seen so many instances of victims just being, it's like an assault, a continuous assault that just keeps happening and happening. And it's hard because someone made this point, and it absolutely makes sense. Like football and basketball at colleges, you're a god, basically. Shit gets, pushed under the rug time and time again. Drag racing, we're gonna not say anything about it. What's that? You're acting out and trashing a hotel room. Shh, no.
Yeah.
Football player, a basketball player.
Also, I wonder if he just tried to kiss her. I mean, we're Generation X. Like if I was at a party and somebody tried to kiss me and I didn't want them to, I would not consider that an assault. I would just be like, oh, this guy wanted to kiss me and blah, blah, blah. Do we know like if she really actually felt super violated, or if she was just going to her teammates and being like, oh my God, did she actually really feel like he was violating her?
Yeah, we will never know.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And it might be that she's like, I just was freaked out and I didn't like him. I just didn't want that, but I don't want to press charges because I don't want that heat. I don't want the whole football team hating me and all of that. So, I mean, who knows? But either way, I think Katie was just like, another, punk ass piece of shit, picking on a girl that's like under fucking age, by the way. So, all that to say that the reasons for moving forward with Katie may have been, I mean, again, even if there were witnesses, who fucking cares?
I know.
Who fucking cares?
It was like a sunburn. That's what. Yeah. It wasn't like she dumped hot scalding coffee in his face.
and his skin like sloughed off.
He melted like the guy in Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and again, no one wanted to move forward with this. The football player's like,
I know. He seems cool, honestly, right? He seemed like he was like, I don't care. Like, no. But also, couldn't he have stood up and said more? Like, if it was me and I found out they were moving forward with stuff against someone that I said not to.
Who knows? Who knows, though, if he even knew. Like, there's so much we don't know about this. But I think plain and simple, the football player and the other soccer player just wanted to just move on. And I'm sure Katie just wanted to move on too. And these guys were just too big for their britches, this department. Stanford's Office of Community Standards took it upon themselves to move forward with disciplinary action against Katie Taylor, despite the fact that no one wanted any of it. The people involved in, for lack of a better word, the case, You know, the young soccer teammate who was kissed against her will by the football player, and the football player himself. Neither of them wanted to move forward with anything. The football player just wanted to drop it, and the Department of Community Standards just insisted on moving forward, which just really feels like kind of throwing your weight around. And the woman involved, looking at her social media, she was about that life. She was really into, like, she had a post. I think she had like an Instagram post. Like, she's wiped a lot of her stuff. But the person in charge was like, I think she posted something that was like, I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind, or whatever. Like she's just all
was drinking champagne. She has champagne, right? And she was starting a career as like a counselor and charging people thousands of dollars to do their admissions applications,
right, to help
to Stanford.
Right. Like, I think it was like starting at like $4,000 or something to help them. Which is just so gross. It's so gross.
Do you want me to tell you my perspective as someone who worked in higher education from like 2003 to 2012?
Yeah.
Like, so when I was trying to figure out where
I'm listening, I'm just helping Poochie up.
Yeah. I know Ginger's trying to get in my lap. So I'm not even trying to hide the fact that I'm wearing leggings, by the way. It's all about the comfort today, folks.
Look, I got these bad boys up.
I was like, am I going to wear a bra or not? I did. So I worked in higher education in a very high stress job that I used to call a cancer job. For when I was a student. And then when I graduated, I tried to become a therapist. And then I thought, oh my God, maybe I'm not going to do that. And then I took 6 years off. So this whole time I'm working in higher education, both as a financial aid counselor and then like the assistant director of the financial aid department at a private school, which is different kind of student than from like Stanford. Stanford, you have a lot of traditional students. So when they come, they're very young and they're still cooking. Like their brains are not fully formed. The prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of executive functioning, is very young. It doesn't like form until they're 25. So we had a lot of adults and people who were working and stuff at that school. But when I worked at UC Berkeley, we had a lot of people who were like 18, 19, very different kind of engagement with the system. But, you know, when you work in higher education, you tend to not make a ton of money. And you also are like, you have a lot of exposure to a lot of young students who have never interacted with these kinds of systems before. And there's a lot of anxiety often, and there's a lot of confusion, or sometimes there's a lot of entitlement. Certain generations, there's more, and then certain generations are just get shit done in a different way than other generations. And I saw it as I was working, but sometimes there can develop this sense of I don't know what it is, resentment or irritation or judgment toward the students, you know, and their behavior. There can also be, I've seen people get high on their kind of power that they have, especially when they're in those roles where they get to decide someone's fate. Maybe in their life, they don't have that kind of power and they like this power a lot. And so they use it, you know, in a way. And I know I have a counseling background, and that has totally shaped my mind in a different direction. And sometimes I can't even remember what it's like to be like a civilian. Mm-hmm. But I would say that in colleges, there is an awareness, especially at colleges like UC Berkeley, where I worked, or Stanford, there's an awareness of kind of the psychological stuff that people come in with being high achievers. And there's an awareness of student mental health, especially in 2022 when she was, you know, but that office, to me, I don't know how they were operating in the capacity that they were operating in without a little bit more padding in terms of like what we're putting the student through is actually extremely painful and could set off a crisis for someone, especially if we drag it on for 6 months and all this uncertainty. First of all, she's like a star athlete. She has a following on Instagram. She's super out there with her personality. She's a polarizing figure in that she expresses her emotions. And whenever you do that, you have half the world hating you because they're the other team's supporters, and you have half the world loving you because you're there, right? And so she's in, I listened to this wonderful interview with her parents, and I'll link to it in the show notes, but they were saying, that she's a social media, she rode the wave of like Instagram when it first came out, and that she appeared to be very robust and she could take a lot and like she had a thick skin, but that it really does impact these high achieving, high caliber athletes to have, their lives be so public and to have instant feedback from people, whether it's, especially when it's hate. And I can imagine her sitting there. The fact I'm as a person who's worked in higher education, I'm stunned by their lack of, that they couldn't predict that something like this would happen if they treated her the way they treated her, and didn't offer her some kind of help in terms of like mental health support. It's just shocking to me because she stood to lose not only like potential sponsorships in the future, all her fans, all her and her future, this future she had been working toward, and was, so like the amount of pressure they were putting on. She was 18. Was she 18?
No, she was 22.
Oh, she was 22. Okay.
She was about to graduate.
So still not fully formed. But so the one thing that her parents talked about in this interview, which I thought was so important, and also speaking from someone who's worked in higher education, it's like they were talking about how shocking it was for them because she had talked to them about everything, right? And that she didn't bring this to them, but they also thought she's not a person who would ever kill herself. And they sort of see it as it was a crisis brought on by this. There was no history of anxiety or depression, nothing that they thought could lead to this. That's what their mom said.
But she was on medication
for ADHD, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So no history of like major depressive disorder.
It could be that was a mistake that came up, that she did have major depressive disorder. That was probably a mistake, but it was ADHD that she had.
Yeah. So her mom said that she had none of the mental. I mean, with ADHD, there is a heightened risk around suicide, but it's like 5% or something.
Because of just impulsivity, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think a little bit of a lot of things, like maybe having, there's so much like in terms of the environment when you grow up with ADHD before you get diagnosed, and all the stuff you kind of internalize about like, how come it's so easy for everyone else and not for me? I must be dumb or whatever. And like, or other things like, yes, impulsivity, but also like rejection sensitivity or stuff around, I don't know, emotion regulation. I wrote down a little bit about that because I looked it up. But basically, like the parents were saying was, and I agree that like there's an issue around sending people to school when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, until your brain's not really fully formed in the prefrontal cortex area until like 25. But you're sending these kids off to school. They want to be adults. They want to be adulting, but you have absolutely no legal right to there's FERPA and then there's HIPAA. So you don't have any legal right to their education information about what's going on. And you don't have any legal right to their mental health records. And they have to sign a release. Your kid has to be willing to sign a release for you to ever have access to any of those things. And to me, that's the biggest question in this whole case is like, how do you navigate having a kid who's not actually fully baked going into school and facing stuff like this by themselves? And you may or may not be able to know unless they tell you. I mean, I guess the answer is like, talk to your kid, but they were talking to her.
Right. And this never came up. For 6 months, she was holding on to this.
Yeah.
This bizarre, like, disciplinary action, this thing like held over her head for 6 whole months, keeping it to herself.
Ugh. Worried, like scared.
Terrified. Also simultaneously waiting for an answer back from Stanford Law School because she was waiting to hear.
It just seems punitive, like unnecessary.
It really does. And the language in the email, where there was nothing in it that gave her any fucking grace at all. Like, hey, this is don't worry, this is standard when we get reports, blah, blah, blah. When we do the research, there's just some stuff to indicate it wasn't an accident.
I know.
If you need to talk to someone, call this fucking number. Nothing. It was just out the gate. It was aggressive. The language was aggressive, and folks, you can look. It's a long fucking email,
Sterile.
but essentially making it very clear in the email that the consequences of her being found guilty essentially was losing, was not being able to graduate, losing her degree, all the fucking hard work that she had put in all the way up to that point. Also,
that's unbelievable to me that they could deny her
no
a degree.
History of any behavioral issues. She never fucking did anything wrong. Stellar student, stellar role model. I mean, she was a great face for Stanford University for women's soccer. She was like the face of it. And well liked by everyone. No issues in her classes. No issues in the dorms. No issues. This one fucking thing that no one involved wanted anything to do with. Even the fucking football player didn't want to touch it, didn't want anything to do with it. He wasn't, and they could have let this go. They could have, but it's that thing of just fucking high on her own fucking supply.
I just know. Yeah. What's her name?
Right? That's her name? I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah. It's something. Let's get the right name before we slam her.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I get so heated.
It's terrible. I mean, think about this. I don't know. It just seems like I can imagine her pushing that key, like the send button, with like sadistic glee. Like, that I've seen people in the education field harbor toward students, which is, I mean, I know it comes from their own burnout and, maybe their own like negative experiences over time with students, but it's really, that's what I wondered when I first heard this. I was like, like, what did she have against her?
Yeah. And apparently she was the lead dean responsible for preventing student suicides. Hi. I think you got some work to do there. And prior to Katie, there had been like 4 other suicides before hers. Not in the month or even, I mean, it was like inside of 2 years. That's a lot.
God, I would think
That's
you'd be on high alert. I mean, you would think. Yeah, every school I worked at, I was a therapist at CSU East Bay, and that was a lot of what we talked about. And the only thing I can think of, well, no, she was supposed to be the person in charge of suicide. One thing I will say is that I think it's terrible in terms of our training as professionals. And she wasn't even a therapist, but like all training in any position that we never really talk. We got 6 hour. It's like there's a 6 hour class requirement for suicide prevention and suicide treatment to get your degree, as at least my degree as a master's. But I'm imagining. I'm just thinking like it doesn't take someone who's like super, super empathic to recognize the pressure you're putting on someone when you do that to them. It's shocking to me that they just let it roll on like they did. I don't know if she had shown more symptoms, if she had showed up, to counseling and said, I'm feeling suicidal. I can't handle this. But then the therapist wouldn't be able to tell the administrator unless she signed a release. So there's all this like stuff where this stuff gets bound up. And I know why. You got to protect people. If she was an imminent threat to herself, like if she told them she was going to commit suicide, she had the means, she had a plan, they could call her parents or they could call this, they could say to try to prevent it. But anything short of that, like she did show up, right? And say that she was having suicidal ideation.
No.
That was Madison.
That was Madison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
this is the difference. I mean, there's many differences between Madison and Katie, but with Madison, she had been having for at least for an entire semester, had been dealing with these with suicidal ideation, anxiety, and depression, and was trying to get help. So that the signs were there, and she was asking for help. With Katie, it sounds like there was nothing happening that was indicating that she was having any sort of a mental health crisis
I'm tripping
until
out.
this.
What's so trippy is she started her parents talked to her by FaceTime the night before, and they said there were no clues. She was buying tickets to, like, her mom was buying her tickets for spring break. She was buying tickets to another trip with her friends. She was making future plans. I just imagine a rubber band, like stretch, stretch, stretch. I imagine myself like hitting refresh, 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 refresh. When's that letter coming? And thinking, oh my God, they're going to let me off maybe. Like maybe there'll be some relief. I'll get
Oh,
word
you're right.
today.
She's like buoyed by the fact that it was probably 6 p.m.
Ugh.
She's talking to her parents like everything's good. I'm not sure what time she spoke to them, but she gets that email at fucking 7, and everything that she was dreaming about and hoping for. One of the things that her mom made a point of saying in this ESPN documentary was that Stanford was her home.
Yeah.
Like that was her home. And she loved it there, and she was thriving, but I can't imagine how just bizarre, like you've got this 1 minute and everything is okay, and then your daughter is gone.
Oh.
Yeah. And then her mother also said that this is just a thing where, Katie didn't want to burden her parents. It's like that 6 months, that whole thing. And I had the thought that the fear and the anxiety too with Katie is knowing that she probably did do it on purpose. That the coffee, that wasn't an accident. I'm not faulting her, because I would fucking be lying too. If I wasn't there, all that kind of stuff. But when you know that this is a department that is takes like student conduct very seriously, and you essentially assault a fellow student, you're automatically in the wrong. And it was an impulsive act. She did it honestly with good intentions. She just, no one's sticking up for this young girl on her team. She's going to stick up for her. She's the team captain. She's going to take care of her, because she can't take care of herself. Like she's being that mama bear that her parents raised her to be, which is, I'm going to stick up for this player. Fuck this guy. I can imagine it. It's like, oh, you're going to force yourself on a girl. I'm going to force myself on you with this fucking hot cup of coffee. Like, and it was an impulsive act, indicative of somebody probably with ADHD, like just like impulsive action, not thinking things through real quick, just in the moment, just having that heated reaction, and knowing maybe like, shit, I'm not going to be able to, because my thought was, why doesn't she just go through with the hearing and then see what happens? But if she knew she was in the wrong, and if there were witnesses saying, no, she did it on purpose, then she's humiliated. And this everything, and her parents, having her back all the way through college. Has this pressure to be that perfect, amazing star athlete student. Everything goes out the window. Her sense of self goes out the window. Her identity as being this star Stanford soccer player goes out the window. And so
she loses everything.
It's a little, we've got the twofold thing of, to draw a parallel in a way between University of Pennsylvania and Stanford, is you've got these two Ivy League institutions. People put Ivy League institutions on such a high pedestal, but there's so much pressure associated with these schools. And you see this pressure with Madison, with just, you know, striving so hard for perfection when perfection is just, it's unattainable. And a lot of people already thought she was perfect, right? Even with her 3.5 GPA, which is still like, that's still like, you know, honor roll.
It's also just like, what the hell? It's like, what strikes me about the whole thing is it's so unforgiving. Like,
Yeah.
can't there just be a way back from that? Can't there just be like a learning from a mistake and some kind of way she could make it up? You know, like,
Talking about Katie?
yeah, like,
Yeah.
you know, like why does her life have to be ruined because of like, it's just, there's something so like,
Right.
just harsh about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there no like kind of measuring stick here? Like, okay, attack a professor for a bad
right.
grade, right? Versus a disagreement where a perfectly capable grown ass fucking big ass football player can handle a hot fucking cup of coffee.
And I
You
don't
know
know
what
how
I'm
much she
saying?
spilled on him. Did she spill the whole thing on him?
I
don't
have
know.
no idea.
Like,
but
I'm
like,
not
he's
advocating
alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't lose practice time. He didn't even want to deal with it. He's like, whatever. I don't want to fucking pursue it. Let's drop it.
I am pissed off at the freaking person that he told.
Lisa Caldera?
No, the person that told her.
The trainer.
The trainer. It's like, shut up.
Well, actually, it might be standard. You know what I mean? It might be a standard thing that happens. Like, I'm not sure how it got to them, but the point is they heard it. And it's like, you really want to go forward with this? Of all the fucking things.
That's the thing. I swear to God, I'm so glad I'm Generation X. Like, this shit that just did not happen. I mean, I know we were like raised by wolves, you know, like in institutions too. Like, I told you about how I got pants once, right? With my MC Hammer pants on.
When you were in college or in high school?
In high school. So this is, the boys got away with a lot of stuff in high school. But yeah, I had Hammer pants on. And you know how they were like, people would wear those pants with elastic waistbands.
Yeah.
Right.
The drop crotch.
Yeah, well, these didn't. These were just like rayon pants with like a thing. Like, not sexy at all. And they're like pajamas. And so this guy comes up and he pantses me. And so I go to class and I'm like, I got to go to the office because this guy pantsed me. And my teacher looked at me and she was like, this is a teacher. She looked at me and she was like, well, I mean, don't you think you were asking for it with those pants? I'm all, I'm like, these pants? Like, pretty sure they wear these underneath burqas. Like, not sexy, not a mini skirt. But even if it was a mini skirt, would I have deserved to gotten pants? No. But yeah, it's like that back. I mean, seriously, that would not even register on anyone's radar if that happened during our college years, right? Yeah. It'd just be like, this person, got pissed off and people would laugh about it. Maybe they wouldn't go to the trainer and be like, oh, and the trainer wouldn't run it up the line to the dean. I'm pretty sure. Which it also makes me think, like, it also makes me think, was there a bias against her because she was so badass and kind of.
That's what I was wondering, because I hate saying this, but I'm like just putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that dean did not have a prestigious academic background. Let's put it that way. That dean basically got her degree or certification from a school with like a 95% acceptance rate, right? Definitely not a Stanford type school. And this isn't me being judgy and snooty about where people go to school. But I think it mattered to this dean that she was now dean of Stanford.
And she has power.
Yeah. And so I did wonder, it's like, here's Katie. She's beautiful, beautiful girl, incredible athlete, and just like a golden girl in a lot of ways. I mean, I keep repeating it, but like, it's a big deal. She was captain of a really fucking great team, a recognized goalkeeper, outstanding goalkeeper, and a stellar student to the point where she applied to Stanford Law School. You don't apply to Stanford for law school if you don't think there's a good chance or a decent chance you'll get in.
She was amazing. Like, honestly, Katie's angry. Amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so angry that she is dead. This is so
Yeah.
unnecessary. Yeah.
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 No, she's from Newbury Park, which is like neighbors to me. Like
Aw.
went to Newbury Park High School, which my oldest son, wrestled there. Not he wasn't a student there, but there was some tournaments there.
Okay, so
Um,
here's my question.
yeah,
Okay, check this out. So this happens in institutions. They don't always talk to each other, the different parts.
sure.
Um, but in smaller, like at JFK, we just walk down the hall, like, oh, this person's having trouble. If they don't get this, whatever, they're not going to get their financial aid, and then we could intervene. But I, I'm so shocked. I mean, I don't know if this happened and maybe they just weren't very effective, but if you have an athlete that's going through something like this, that department should be communicating with her coaches, and the coaches play a huge role in these players' mental health and their mindset.
That is such a good point.
Like,
That is such a good
why?
point.
Yeah. Were they
And
involved?
also, I'll go a step further. Well, I don't know if this would be applicable because technically Katie was a legal adult. I was going to say also letting the parents fucking know.
That's my question. So that's my thing about the FERPA and the HIPAA thing. Like, if your kid goes to school, if I was a parent, I would ask them if they would feel comfortable with having a release signed, at least while they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, right? Like, their brains are. I remember when I turned 24, I was like, whoa, I feel way smarter than I ever felt before. I could feel my brain, my prefrontal cortex forming and taking shape. The thing with brain development, and they talk about this a lot in the podcast too, and it's a really good point, is that the middle brain is developed, but that's like the emotional brain. That's the brain that is impulsive. And you don't have the prefrontal cortex to check that yet, fully formed. So you have these kids running around with all these stresses, all the stresses of the life change of becoming, a college student and an athlete in her case, and their parents can't hear anything from anyone unless the kid tells them. And so I think at least somebody should have encouraged her, like, listen, talk to your parents, get them involved. I know you probably don't want to because you feel ashamed. There's so many things that could have happened to help her with this, even if she didn't outwardly seem upset by it. Like, do the math. Like, of course she's upset by it. Like, her whole life is hanging in the balance here. So it just is just shocking, the failures at all different levels to me. Like,
Also, here's another thing, just to go along with what you're saying, as far as like opportunities to give her some sort of help, reassurance, something. And that is in that when she responded to that email saying, essentially disclosing like this, I'm freaked out.
she said, I'm distraught.
I'm distraught. There was an opportunity there for the person, because she got a response back right away, saying, oh, well, you can do any of these times work, of saying, do you need to talk to someone? Hey, I hear you're distraught. I hear that. I understand. Please don't worry too much.
Or suicide check. Like, are you having suicidal ideation? Have you talked to your parents? Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, something that like started a dialogue with her. And I maintain that when you work in that department, when you're essentially in charge of really the well-being of students. I mean, students that are maybe on the receiving end of being whatever. When there's the threat of expulsion.
Yep.
I think you forfeit your right to be like, office hours are closed. Don't send the fucking email at 7 p.m. then, if you're not going to be available to help a student.
Yep.
And play dumb about the high stakes of being a Stanford University student and what that entails.
Ugh.
It's ridiculous. I was thinking, I think I brought this up to you. I mentioned it. It's like, you look at, there's a reason why when you get tested for something like cancer,
Mm-hmm.
They don't just send you an email
Yes.
or a notice saying, "Hey,
you have AIDS."
You have cancer. You have you tested positive for HIV. It's 8 o'clock at night, and there's nothing you can. There's a reason why they don't give you potentially bad news.
That's a really
And I
good
say
point.
potentially because people can live with HIV now, right? You can survive it. There are people that beat cancer, but it's terrifying to hear that your life can be over potentially.
Yes.
And they don't do that. So you don't fucking send an email saying, "Hey, guess what? Everything you worked your ass off for and you're like set to graduate in 2 months," that might not happen. So
Oh my God.
sorry.
Oh my God.
That's
what I'm
you
saying.
don't fucking do that.
That's some callous, fucked up,
especially when you've got these 4 other students not long prior who killed themselves.
Oh yeah,
and you have Madison Holleran killed herself. This is a thing that happens.
That just shows you. I mean, that's the thing I'm talking about. Like, is there some kind of like fatigue people get, and they get like compassion fatigue, or it's true, it happens. Like you do lose. I lost a lot of my empathy a lot of times with students. They used to drive me crazy. But not all of them. But you know, I had like 15,000 students I was working with at Cal. But I also was working with the student athlete population who got special services and they got special treatment, and it's for good reason, right? It's a very important part of the school. So that's my other thing. I'm like, okay, so you have somebody who's like a star student athlete. Didn't they win the championships that year because of her?
And because of her.
Yeah. So you have the star student athlete. Don't you think you would wake up to other pressures? Like, we can't lose this one. Like, or, not to say that everyone isn't important, because everyone is important, but especially someone who's so high profile, like I feel like it just feels like a personal vendetta to me. It feels like
it does. It really does. Or just absolute, just stupid negligence, because Lisa Caldera also was in charge of alcohol on campus, or something about like drinking, students and drinking, and under her watch, I something like an insane number of students were admitted to the emergency room with alcohol related things. So I'm like, yeah, clearly she's not doing great at her job. Like, clearly that there's a problem there. But again, I know we kind of went off on this, but it should be said that Katie's parents have sued Stanford University for wrongful death. And I think there's a very good chance that they will. I mean, really, it's they had a responsibility, especially given what the dean was tasked with, to act in Katie's best interest, regardless of, like, let's say that it's like, well, she did this thing on purpose, we think, but we also have a responsibility to be mindful about the way that we share this information, and let her know what her fucking rights are. Right? She had to go Googling around, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, right. And that's what her parents are, that legislation's kind of about, I think, is having someone outside. Well, the system circles the wagons and tries to protect the system, which is Stanford is trying to do now. But, so you're in that system, and how much, so they're saying, yeah, get somebody from outside who can help you look at this and help you deal with this. I want to read the legislation. I haven't read it, but I think it's mandatory, which I think is important, because
very important.
Because that's the thing. If they had mandated that she talk to someone like her parents, or I don't know, a coach, someone could have pushed a little bit to say, this isn't good for you to be handling this on your own. We want to support you. We back you all the way. We'll be your witnesses, whatever. Like, also a little more context, please, about the different kinds of punishments. I think you might have just said this, but yeah, the different types of punishments. Like
it was like a blanket, like this blanket thing put over her. It's like, you're going to be expelled for that? Come on.
It's like, yeah, there was no like, we have to look at it and evaluate it. And then there might be a way back from, there might be something that you can do, like pick up garbage on the side of the road. No, but like something like that, where it's like,
yeah, like you're going to kick this person out of your fucking school.
Like, it just shows you how Stanford is like so high on its own supply. It's so annoying.
Really is. It really, yeah, exactly.
Like, ew, like, okay, fine. Like, yuck. You know, like it's so yucky that whole, we've got a code of conduct. Okay, sure, totally. But I would love to see other actions that were taken. I'm sure they're looking at this for the case, but like if there were other actions that they ignored that were on the same sort of on par with hers, like, and what happened in the, like, what if in other cases, who have they expelled and who have they not? And what, you know what I mean? Like what is their criteria for deciding, and how often do they actually expel people? And what would be even worse is that if they never really did, if they kind of had these hearings and that they didn't really have a high rate of doing this, and she stood a good chance of making it, but no one could talk to her or give her that context.
Which an advocate would have been able to do. Like what her parents are trying, what this law that passed is you call the person up here. Let you know what your actual rights are here. Don't even fucking worry about it. This is like, that would go so far. That could have saved her life, basically. Absolutely. If there was somebody that she could have called.
Or a higher thing you could appeal to. Like honestly, I would sue the shit out of a school that tried to, like, especially after all the money she spent to go to school there. If they would have just
she got a full ride.
Oh, she got
a full ride. A full, which is like, I was wondering, because I was doing some research about like the just what was at stake, because I thought if her parents essentially, if there was like, her parents took out loans or had not taken out loans, but had given up a lot for her to go to school there. But she got it's a testament to what an absolutely incredible student athlete she was, that she got a full ride there. But she was essentially an ambassador for the school in a lot of ways. But I can't
I know, it's hard to
it makes me so angry. It makes me so angry because I'm like, essentially she was fucking bullied. I'm sorry. And how about this? I thought about this too. It's like, okay, so technically the young soccer player didn't want to pursue charges against this football player. The football player didn't want to pursue charges against Katie.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to go ahead and punish Katie, or quote unquote investigate, because maybe there were witnesses that saw her dump the coffee on him. Well, I would say that the young soccer player, let me put it this way. Of course there wouldn't be fucking witnesses to the football player forcing himself on the soccer player.
Right.
Of course there wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to take her to a dark, deserted area to force himself on her.
Mm. I need to read more about that. I didn't know that was the case. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna make the decision to do that without witnesses.
Exactly. Exactly. So like, what is the bigger problem here? Him molesting an underage girl, because she was only 17. What's the bigger issue? Didn't you guys have a problem with, I don't know, fucking Brock Turner? You know what I'm saying? Like remember that kind of stain on your institution, that guy? Remember when that fucking happened? And I know that this wasn't a rape, and I know that these witnesses came and pulled him off of her, or like yelled at him and all that. You could see it happening. But it's you could make the argument that the witnesses were the people she told right after. that this happened. You know what I mean? The 17-year-old. But like, what's more egregious?
I know.
You know, and it's especially when it's a standard practice that a lot of times victims of sexual assault don't want to pursue it because they're afraid. They're afraid of what the repercussions are. All this to say, I know this is all speculation on that. I wasn't there. I don't know, but it's interesting that they choose to pick on the girl that was trying to stick up for a young victim.
Mm-hmm.
And ruin her, potentially destroy her life,
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
bully her. They bullied her. So, because it's a thing, it's like, well, actually, nothing was going to happen. That's a scare tactic we do. We want to just terrorize the person being investigated, and then we, 9 times out of 10, we don't move forward. We just want to like throw our weight around and really scare her and show her who's boss. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what I mean.
I know, it's part of me is like, okay, so what can we learn from this? Like, going forward, hopefully they have learned something from this and will.
I mean, well, what they're asserting is that Katie killed herself because of her parents. That's their position.
Oh, right. Because she wrote that
Yeah.
essay about my parents are controlling or whatever. That's so interesting. It doesn't every kid at that age go through that phase of like, oh, my parents, they're just so controlling, right?
And it's also a case of sometimes it's like for the sake of getting that A, you're going to be a little hyperbolic. It could be that was just a method Katie was using. Maybe she was embarrassed about the fact that she had like perfect parents, which honestly, her family did seem pretty fucking awesome, right? Just like Madison's parents. Yeah. I was like, I wish they were my parents. Fucking Katie's parents are dope. I mean, she had her dad on, like her dad. Like
on
that's
her podcast episode.
Right. She brought her father on. What does that tell you? I love my fucking dad. It's
so par for the course for that age to just sort of be pushing away from your parents, right? And kind of like with aggression sometimes, and it's like it's what college kids do. Like, oh, my parents, they're so, but clearly they had a good solid relationship with her. And that's so sad. Stanford's trying to throw them under the bus, huh? That's just
well, they're saying, hey, look, we know it's tragic and that sucks and everything, but she did write this she did do this paper on how it was hard measuring up or whatever. And it could be that she did have a hard time because she wanted to be perfect for her parents. I mean, she didn't want to burden them with this 6-month nightmare investigation that was going on. She kept that to herself.
So yeah, sometimes people, there's something like, oh, I see it all the time. Well, in myself, there are certain things, but in other people, in my work, I see there's just something about certain things that people will not tell. And it takes them a long time to warm up to sharing. And a lot of the time it has to do with just feeling shame, like I feel ashamed of that. And it's interesting. This is subtle, but like in the interview I heard with her mom, and her dad, her mom was saying, yeah, she was really out there with her social media, because they were talking about social media and how if you ask all the coaches, like what's truly different between like when they were growing up and when these kids are growing up that are impacting their mental health, they all say social media. And she said, just talking about how she was out there, and she's like, and she would put stuff out there and she was like brave, stuff would come back and people would have things to say and they weren't always nice. And she's like, I would say to her, oh God, just dial it back. Like, can you take that off? Like, just kind of like coaching her around, that. And in that, I kind of could hear that maybe Katie would be easy to internalize a message of being, especially with her out there personality as a woman, be really easy to internalize a message of being too much. And so like when the coffee throwing, that was an instance of too much. And like, maybe this is total speculation on my part, but, just feeling like that is one thing I feel so ashamed and guilty because I did that. Like, I can't even get the words out of my mouth to tell my parents. Right. Cause it's just too painful it's too painful.
Right.
And yeah. Yeah, that's why I wish someone would have been working on her, like at least one of her coaches, or, you know, to soften it a little bit, because shame just sort of festers in silence, right? You just sort of sit there feeling ashamed, and it takes actual work, like humor, like sharing it with other people, time passing, knowing you're not alone, knowing that people still love you. And no one had the opportunity, unless they were doing the work, to see, unless they were notified she was in this process and they were, you know what I mean? But I don't know if she let on that she was, because you see the podcast that she did, and that was right before she ended
Yeah.
her life. She
And she
just
was very
looks,
upbeat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the thing too. And also being a team captain is she's gotta, if she's scared, she's not gonna let on.
yeah,
If she's dealing with shit, she's not gonna let on, because she has to be strong. She
yeah,
has to be powerful. And that is to kind of add to what you're saying about like the social media piece, because we see that with Madison Holleran too in last week's episode, is this sense of the face that we put forward, of strength, of happiness, of joy, of success, and what we're masking
yeah.
inside. And for Madison, I mean, she was trying to get privately, she was trying to get help privately, meaning like her parents knew. And
Yeah.
she was trying to get help because she was dealing with actual like a mental health crisis. Katie's came on so quick. I mean, it is like when you talk about like stretching the rubber band and then it snaps. It's just that 6 months of just
Oof.
waiting, the waiting game, probably like ruminating. Okay, I think I'm going to be okay. No, I'm not going to be okay. I think this is going to work out. No, all of this stuff going, um, keeping it close to her chest until that snap of that email. And then at
Oof.
that point, and then it's worth mentioning that she hadn't gotten a refill on her ADHD medication, which has like some of the like the sudden, like when you go off of it really fast, very suddenly, which it sounds like happened, suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideation is a side effect of
Mm-hmm.
suddenly stopping the meds. Um,
Ugh.
so who knows if that kind of played into it, like dealing with her symptoms of also just the ADHD coming back full force. Uh, and it's not clear why. There was like some mix up, some problem with the doctor that was in
Insurance or
charge.
something.
The insurance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Oh.
that may have played a role also in just this absolute crisis moment that she had. But yeah, so the trial is set for 2026. I'm not sure which month, for the Katie Meyer's parents versus Stanford University, and we'll see how that unfolds. But a lot of people, a lot of students at Stanford had complaints about this department at Stanford,
Wow.
the Department of Student Conduct.
I wish
So
them luck. I hope they win, and I hope things change. They just have a little more empathy here, folks. And a little more, that the whole thing about the sticky thing about, disclosure and parents, it's very individual, but yeah, I think your hands are tied as an institution in terms of, you know, going to the parents. But I could easily see, if I was in the position of that dean, walking over to the sports department and saying, look, she's going through like an intense process with us, and so can you guys make sure that she's getting support or something, like that's all it might have took it. That's all it might have taken.
yeah, no, it's true though. Something like that, even yeah, a coach, even contacting a therapist like in the counseling department and saying, hey, you know what, we've got this thing going. If you could please reach out to her, and then the counselor can say, hey, you're going through this. So I've been made aware of this thing. This is confidential. Call me, text me anytime,
I can't imagine
you're
that
not
hell.
alone. Yeah.
Dude, I don't think I could handle that. Honestly, I have this thing about obviously about making mistakes, but I have this, my dad was a cop, so maybe this is where it comes from, but I have this total fear about something like this happening to me. And this whole episode we've been talking, I've had this pain in my gut. Like, there's something so awful about that. Like, sitting there, living your life, going through the motions, not knowing your fate, like being on trial, like literally being on trial. And I think about like Karen Reed, or like, how do you survive the not knowing and the uncertainty and the fact that your whole life could change on a dime? Not that she couldn't have come back from that, but that's what I think she needed, is she needed people to say, so what? So what? The worst thing that ever could happen to you could happen to you, but you can still survive that, and you can
appeal
thrive.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can appeal this. I keep going. I know that we could spend all day just going back to this one thing, which is what the fuck, dude? It's not like she like did a running start from the back of like a lecture hall and like assaulted her teacher. It's not like she like broke someone's nose. It's not, you know what I mean?
I know. I feel
it's not like she kissed someone against their will.
Well, I mean, that's so funny. I'm like, well, isn't that how people do it? I don't know. Like, I just remember being at parties and like people kissing each other without being like, can I kiss you? Anyway, but I know that that's the thing now. And I agree. I think it's a good thing. But it's like, I don't know. I feel bad because I keep thinking, am I going to come away from this sitting in my bedroom tonight trying to go to sleep thinking, did I just say that it was no big deal that someone dumped hot coffee on someone? It's not. No, it's a big deal, but it's not like it's not like a big deal.
Well, I guess the point is, it's like it's what she did is technically assault. If I'm going to say that the football player kind of forcing himself on this girl is assault, I also have to admit that when you pour hot coffee on somebody, when you dump hot coffee, and again, maybe it was an accident, maybe the hot coffee ending up on the football player was assault. And I'm not trying to downplay it, but to not look at the context of the situation, to look at it completely outside of context. It's not like he cut in line and so she fucking dumped hot coffee. It's not like he bumped into her so she dumped hot coffee. Look at the context. If you have to look at the whole thing and understand. Also understand that it's not that it was. It's like are you really going to take everything away from this girl, everything away from her because of a mistake, this one mistake.
Yeah.
This one mistake. She didn't take a fucking tire iron to his knee. She didn't cripple him. She didn't, it sucks. It's a shitty thing that fucking happened. It shouldn't have happened. Technically, it absolutely shouldn't have. And I'm not trying to, and I know it's I keep going back to, it's not like she assaulted. It just doesn't seem fair that if they're going to let that thing die, the kiss, if they're going to let that die, and it's fine. The girl, maybe she's right. Maybe it's going to be a lot worse for her if they moved forward with it. And then you've got an angry football team and she's afraid for her safety. Like, I understand that. Or that, whatever. We don't know why she didn't go through. We don't know exactly what happened. But the point is, she didn't want to pursue it, and so they let it go. Yeah. So they should have fucking let this thing go.
I know. Can't we just apologize? Sorry.
Remember when you could just say you're sorry? Yeah. Remember that?
Didn't have to institute, like it's that's the thing I'm saying is, like, I think that these institutions sometimes, for whatever reason, that it's like being in a cult or something. It's like I'm trying to figure out how a way to describe this. So like, it's like a hyper fixation on discipline because discipline is your job. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like the Stanford prison experiment. Like, this is my role and I take it very seriously, like,
Right.
I'm going to like do what I can to like, I just looked like my mom when I did that. Like just a little too identified with one's work and role and power. And
so do a better job at it.
I know, exactly.
Right?
Well, that's
like,
that's
okay,
that
that's
evil.
fine. Just do a fucking better job at it.
Well, that
How
thing
about-
about
how
evil.
about- Yeah.
And incompetence, and how like it's usually incompetence, but it looks evil, but it is probably incompetence, but
Right.
maybe a little both. Like,
yeah, I just feel like if they had just said, okay, we're going to call the football player and we're going to call Katie Meyer into a conference room, let's hash it out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be better? Wouldn't that be better?
Could learn from
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could actually. Shaming people doesn't really. I mean, it does sort of sometimes extinguish behaviors, but it doesn't really like allow you an opportunity to kind of grow and change and be forgiven and forgive and make sense of things and understand. Yeah, it's stupid, and I hope they change that. I hope they have some, or maybe that was an option and they just didn't take it.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to look more into it. I'm sure that with the lawsuit, they've probably like gone deep into it. What was available, the information that was available, made it seem like, they all they put in the email to her, which I'm sure she read several times through, was you this is what you're facing. And it's like, really? Because sometimes people beat the shit out of each other and then they're assigned anger management courses. So there's another fucking option. Okay,
Yeah.
it seems like you did this out of anger. So now we're requiring you spend the weekend attending an anger management course. How about that?
I know. It's like we don't make mistakes here at Stanford.
Yeah, we don't ever fuck up. Yeah. Maybe you didn't get the memo before we let you into our hallowed halls, but we don't fuck up ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, we can go on and on and on. That is, it's fucking so tragic that this happened, that Katie Meyer basically felt like she had no recourse and she took her life. Someone who clearly had so much to fucking offer, and somebody who was like a really fucking, who was like a solid person. Like I was watching her and I'm like, man, I would want her on my team. I would want her. She would, I'd want her like having my back, because she fucking goes all out for her team and for people that she feels like that don't feel like they can speak for themselves. Like she could have really fucking done something amazing. She already was doing something amazing. And so if anything good can come out of this, I hope that there are people that when they're faced with this anxious urge to take their own lives, that there's something in place, that there wasn't, that didn't exist for Katie. I hope it exists for others because of this.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it alone. Like, just no one does. There's always someone who you can talk to and who can help. And I just imagine how alone she felt, and it just breaks my heart. Yeah. So
that is the most heartbreaking thing, is just thinking about her just feeling absolutely scared. Oh, guys. Yeah. So
another upbeat episode.
Yeah, another upbeat episode. Sorry, guys. It's just important that we talk about this because, after the Madison Holleran tragedy in 2014, and then we fast forward to 2022, and it's like, wow, nothing's really changed. There's not anything in place for these young people that are struggling. And other things that haven't even reached the level of news that both of these tragedies reached.
Yeah.
But okay, thank you so much for listening, guys. And
Thanks for listening.
Please follow us on our socials at Secret Passage Podcast on Instagram or X at Secret Pass Pod. You could also join our Patreon, where we have different videos and other episodes, trapdoor episodes, as we call them, available. And yeah, we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.